What up? It is Golden Spaces, an Odyssey original podcast with Justin and Nat, but we have a third person with us today, and it is Mr. Kenny Caraway, our brother from J Street Vibes, another Odyssey podcast, but also, and you may probably know him from ESPN's 1320, right? In Sacramento.
Yeah.
So we're so excited Kenny is on today because we got some things to get into. We are going to do a preview for y'all, but the first thing I just have to know before we get into it, Kenny, is I need you to tell me why Sacramento Kings fans believe that y'all offense this year is better than the Warriors offense when we had Kevin Durant on it. Please talk to me. Tell me.
All right.
They are not really this crazy.
All right, so we podding right now, obviously. We podding. Let's just go, Bob. So we podding right off the rip. All right. I'm with that. All right. So here's the thing. And that, Justin, I've checked out you guys where I got love for y'all. Okay. I'm gonna let that be known off top. But I'm gonna say I went on a rant today on the show. Man, these Warriors fans be crying, boy. Y'all be whining, man. My God, I ain't never seen winners whine so damn much. Y'all won championships. I'll be crying all the time. But look, let me explain what goes on. In 95.7, those are my people over there at 95.7 the game. But they did my man James Ham a little dirty on that one. Because what James said was, well, the caption was different. So on the tweet, on the cut, the caption was like, James Ham, I've been in the Warriors locker room, ... This Kings offense is better than the Warriors one ever did. I was like, damn, James, like, why would you say that? And then I listened to it.
Why would you say that?
Yeah. I listened to it and he didn't exactly say that, right? Like what, and if you're like, if you're paying attention to what he's saying, like what he said, number one is right. And I get it. He's not saying the offense is better. Like it's better. They would cook the championship where he's not saying that. He's talking about statistically, they had the highest offensive rating of all time. Points per game. I think they finished at like 121, maybe 120. That's the highest points per game in the last 40 years of the NBA. I think the last team to have one higher was the 82-83 Nuggets. So, like, that's all he's talking about. I talked to Jack, like, I know that's all he's talking about. He's not saying, like, this offense is way better than Kate. No, nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that at all. But statistically, they got the highest offensive rating in the history of the game, and they've averaged more points per game than any team in the last 40 years. And that's all it is. But Warrior fans get a hold of it. Then NBA Central get a hold of it. Then Kyle Kuzma get a hold of it. And it went crazy. So that's all that was about.
And you know what? I wasn't even going to go in on your boy because it was some Twitter account, King's Muse, who I went in on because...
Hey, shout out King's Muse, man. Shout out King's Muse.
King's Muse tried to troll Warriors fans and was like, oh, Warriors fans are just discovering they don't have the greatest offense of all time. I was like, wait a minute. So I did go in on him a little bit, or her.
You did go in. I saw you. You went in.
Okay. I was just perplexed. So that's why I said that. That's what I said. Like, wait, do they actually believe this in Sacramento? So I wanted to understand what's in the water there, or if there's something.
What are we talking about? And people put the caveats on there and all this. That's fine. But the fact is, they got the highest offensive rating in the history of the game. Now you can talk about. You could talk about the way the game's being played this year, scoring's high, all this other stuff. If the Warriors with KD in there, if they would have like knew that was a thing, maybe they would have went for it and blew it out the water. I don't know all that. All I'm saying is they have the highest offensive rating in the history of the game.
Okay, so what does that mean though in the grand scheme? So y'all have that. I'm saying, like, does that mean like they have an edge over the Warriors because of that now? Like, what does that mean anyway?
No, what that means to me is this is a potent offense, and I think Warriors fans are kind of sleeping on that. Warriors media kind of sleeping on that. This is a potent offense. Like they get buckets. Like, and nobody's been able to stop them all year long. And I think that's going to continue in the playoffs. I mean, they scored 120 a night. I did a study a little while ago. Teams with the highest points per game in the regular season tends to go down like 4 to 5 points in the postseason. That's still 117, 116. This year, when they scored 115 or more, they were like 35-9 or something like that. Like they scored 130, I think 20 times, and I forgot they were like 16-2. I wish I had all the numbers in front of me. I look at this stuff all day. But like when they score, they win. That's usually what it is. And I think a lot of people here in Sacramento feel they're going to score again against the Warriors. It's not the Warriors. It's not that the Warriors can't keep up, but what's been shown so far this year is when the Kings are able to score, they're going to win. This is what I've continued to say. I hope you guys follow me on this one. If you can't beat the Kings by trying to outscore them, if that makes sense. Like you're not like if you think you're gonna get in the shootout and beat them 135, 134, they're gonna win that game every time. They're gonna win it every time.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Over the Warriors too?
With the Splash Brothers?
Absolutely. Now that doesn't mean but hear what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying though. Hear what I'm saying. See, Warrior fans getting all day. I'm Warrior fans. Hear what I'm saying. That's not the way to beat the Kings. Like you can. We've seen the blueprint to beat the Kings a number of times because when you're playing 135, 134, you're playing their game, their best at their game. You may get them once, twice, whatever the case may be. I don't think you're going to get them in a series if both teams is averaging like 125. Like that's Kings basketball. With the Warriors, if they're going to beat the Kings, they're going to have to do is they're going to have to shut off that water. Like it's not going to be a shootout and they're going to win. The Warriors are going to have to shut off that water. They're going to have to D up. Stop them in critical times and get the critical stops and make this game. If I had to say, they need to get the Kings in like 113 or something like that. Like get them there, and then that means the Kings probably aren't hitting the three ball. It means they're probably not getting to the line the way they are. And with the defense that is a little suspect in Sacramento, you're still going to score. Like if you're the opposing team, you're still going to score. You're still going to get your 120. But if you try and beat the Kings 125, 120, they're going to win every time. I'm telling you, they're going to win 120, 125. You beat them by beating them 120, 115.
Okay, well, I have thoughts, but I want Justin to go first.
No, I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, the Warriors are right up there as far as, offensive potency when you look at the team being all together. I mean, obviously you got Steph and Clay who can outshoot anybody in the history of the game. I feel pretty confident about that. As a team, yeah, I do think, from top to bottom, the Kings have a little bit more offense, right? Just individual players, right? You got guys like Sabonis, who's more of a scorer, passer. He's just Draymond can pass too, but he's more of a scorer than Draymond is and Looney is and stuff like that. They got shooting all up and down the roster. Whereas with the Warriors, a lot of their scoring punches in the backcourt and the perimeter specifically. But I don't know if I can say, like, if you try to outscore the Kings, I think the Warriors can beat them either way, to be honest. But
yes,
I agree. I agree that the Warriors should focus more on trying to shut their water off, because I think that's more of the Warriors makeup. Like over the course of dynasty, they're hard hat, like they're hanging their hat on defense and being able to get stops when it matters, and then letting Steph and Clay carry the offense in those moments. But I don't know if I agree when you say, like, if you try to outscore the Kings, they going.
I'm just telling you what it is all year long. Like I said, man, I wish I had these numbers.
But the Warriors beat the Kings three times this year, right?
They only really played 3 times.
Okay, you don't want to. Okay, but even if you say 3 times, they still won 2-1, right? So
absolutely,
they've already done that this year.
They've done that. They've done, and it took the second game. It took Steph going into God mode. I think Steph had 47.
But he can do that.
25. He absolutely can do that. But I'm gonna tell you right now.
When was that game played?
November. I want to say it was about the 13th game of the season.
So when Clay hadn't yet rounded into form. So now you got Clay as Clay and Steph as Steph. And you feel confident that the guys on that team can raise their level to game 6 Clay and Stephen Curry, the best shooter of all time?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, those two are former. The Splash Brothers are the greatest shooting backcourt of all time, maybe the greatest backcourt of all time. Like it's not see, this is what happens, okay, with Warrior fans and Kings fans. Like, I ain't sitting up here telling you there ain't no chance the Warriors are gonna do it. Absolutely, it's the Golden State Warriors. Absolutely, we've seen them win in every situation. They absolutely can get it done in a shootout. They absolutely can get it done with Steph and Clay, and no doubt about it. I'm not saying it's Jordan Poole. There's no doubt about it. All right. I'm just telling you, I've seen it a number of different times this year. I think the Warriors might have got them in one of those games where they scored more than 115. But
the first one, game 130 to 125.
Yeah, that's not the formula to beat the Kings. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm giving you guys the blueprint. Like, I'm giving you what it is. Like, I'm not saying.
I agree.
I'm telling you, like, if you want to beat them, you want to defend. We've seen that a couple of different times. We saw with Boston, we saw with Toronto. That are two games that stuck out right there that gave the Kings fits, because the defense and the length on the perimeter was a problem for Sabonis. It was a problem for front. Minnesota did the same thing a couple of weeks before the end of the season. Like, that's the blueprint. But if you try to score with them,
I'm not worried about if the Warriors trying to score with anyone. I just don't think that's the blueprint ever. I think it should always be defense, like Justin said. But speaking of defense, can the Kings defend? Because they are one of the worst defenses in the league. So I'm not saying that the Warriors have been a great defense.
Hold on, Matt. Give me 2 seconds. Let me go give the baby girl real quick.
Okay, no problem. Justin, because we know that the Warriors have the ability, right, to raise their defense to be like a top 5 defense. We know that. But I'm curious. I don't think that the Kings can.
I don't either. I think in particular, just based on roster construction, they don't have enough athleticism in their front court. They got a lot of size, but Sabonis is not like a rim protector. He's not a guy that can switch. Keegan Murray's a rookie, right? Like, so there's going to be some things that he gets thrown into defensively, some situation that he gets thrown into defensively that I don't think he's equipped to play in just yet in his career. Harrison Barnes is a step slow than when he was in his prime. So, and then there are other guys like Trey Lyles and Alex Lynn and stuff like that. I don't know how much Alex Lynn's going to play, but Trey Lyles, I just don't trust those guys on the perimeter, switching on the Steph, switching on the JP, stuff like that.
All this crazy talk, all this blasphemy about the Kings. She said, "Hold on, Dad. Let me talk to him real quick. Man, they ain't trying to hear. They ain't trying to hear."
Joining the conversation. We're gonna turn you into a Warriors fan so you can root for the right team.
I already lost my son. My son is already a Warriors fan.
Oh man,
she's gonna be with me.
Boy.
Yeah, she with me. But I appreciate you guys.
The ladies love the Warriors players too. So I mean, I think that's who she should be with.
She running with the Kings, man. She lighting the beam out here, man. That's what she doing, man. But no, I appreciate you guys being flexible. But
of course.
But you're gonna ask me about the defense. You're asking me about the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, Justin and I were just saying that, the Warriors, while we acknowledge they haven't had like a great defense all season, we've seen them turn it on and become like that top 5 defense we know they have the ability to do. Yeah. But like the Kings, in my opinion, from what I've observed, and this team better than me, but it seems like their plan is always to out offense everybody. So what is going to be their game plan going in? Because I think like it's the playoffs. You got to play defense. You have to do it.
So here's the thing with that. It's a couple things. So number one, the Kings, they're not a good defensive team in its totality. They are an opportunistic team. They do play defense in spurts. And usually, and this is almost like a Warriors formula, at least from way back, and I think the Warriors still do it today, is they don't really play defense, but they'll play defense for about 5 minutes, and you combine that with an offensive explosion, and all of a sudden the game's over. Like that's what happens a lot in Golden State. I think that's what happens a lot here with the Kings. One weird dynamic with them is they're not very good defensively at home for whatever reason. I think they're in the mid to low 20s with the defensive rating at home. On the road, they're like 9th in the league in defense. And I don't know what that's all about. I have no answer for it. I don't know why they're better defensively on the road than they are at home.
Isn't
But
their record also better on the road than at
they
home?
got the best record in the Western Conference on the road. They got like 23. I think they're like 23 and
Yeah,
got
what
it
is
from
that
right
about?
here. Like 23 and 18, or excuse me, 25 and 16 on the road. So not really sure what that's all about. But they're an opportunistic defense. I'd never look at them or classify them as some type of defensive juggernaut, but they are capable of turning up on the defensive end. And when they're able to do that, a lot of times that coincides with a little bit of an offensive explosion, and that's where they gain their separation a lot in these games. So I'm interested to see what they do on the defensive end. Mike Brown's a defensive coach. He's going to be locked in for a series now. It's a little different than the regular season. So he can scheme a little bit different in these playoffs. But yeah, I mean, they're not a good defensive team. They haven't shown themselves to be a good defensive team all year. So I wouldn't expect that to miraculously change in the postseason.
Okay. Before we get into some of these individual matchups, because I'm curious to hear what you're going to say. You mentioned Coach Brown. We love him, miss him over here. But is he your pick for Coach of the Year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's been a lot of people trying to like make different arguments for other coaches, and they're Mark Daigneault and OKC's done a phenomenal job. You want to talk about Michael Malone? He's done a phenomenal job. Bickerstaff in Cleveland done a phenomenal job. Tim Thibodeau. There's a lot of really good candidates, but it's got to be Mike Brown. I mean, what he's done with this Sacramento Kings team, getting them to the 3rd spot, breaking that 16-year drought. I know it's a one-season award, but I mean, you can't talk about the season without talking about the story. Like that has a lot to do with it. And it's not even a situation where he took over that team, they made some kind of trade or deal, and everybody was like, yo, this is a team, watch out for them, they're going to come. I mean, people were still laughing at the Kings in the preseason, saying a play-in team at best. And not only were they, more than a play-in team, I mean, he had them up at the 2 seed at one point in March. So Mike Brown, absolutely. We love him here as well. Yeah, that's our guy. Yeah, he's Coach of the Year. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And speaking of awards, everyone's saying that De'Aaron Fox is a shoo-in for Clutch Player of the Year, but
Put some respect on his name now. Put some respect on his name.
no, I love him. I'm a Fox guy, but I'm just like saying like, okay, that's cute and all, but what about like some of the more prestigious awards? Do you think he's going to make an all NBA team this year?
I think he should. There's a couple. We broke this down. It all comes together just because we talk on the show all the time. But I think we talked about like all NBA and the guards. We talked about I think Steph. We said Steph should be on there even with the missed games. I think we talked about Dame Lillard having to be on there. Shea, SGA should be on there. So that's 3. They're probably going to put Luke on there. So that's 4. And now you got the last two spots. Absolutely.
All these guys who not even in the playoffs, I got to tell you.
Look,
with me.
Look, Luka don't need to be in there. Luka and Dame don't need to be in there. I'd put Dame
higher than 3rd team if you're going to put them in there.
No. I'd put Dame over there. I wouldn't put Luka in there. Because maybe because I like Dame a little better. But I'd put Dame in there. But yeah, De'Aaron Fox absolutely should be part of the top 6 when you talk about guards and make the All-NBA team. Sabonis is an absolute shoo-in. He's a lock to be on the All-NBA as a center. They do this weird thing where I think with the voting, they say forward for Sabonis as well. So I think they're trying to open up the door for if they try to put Anthony Davis in there, that they'll Anthony Davis can get on there. You ain't got to worry about it. But yeah, I think they're trying to open up the door for that. But I mean, yeah, the Kings should have 2 All-NBA players for sure.
Justin, what are your thoughts on awards? We haven't talked about it at all this year. I mean, a little bit, just like saying like Steph should be on there. And I think that Luka shouldn't, but we haven't really dug into that. Do you have any thoughts on All NBA?
Yeah, I definitely think you should kind of take some points off of guys who don't make the playoffs for sure. I mean, that's the whole point of playing the games is to win and see, where your team ends up at the end. So if not deducting points for guys who don't make it, you should give extra points to guys who do make it, and especially guys who are top 3 seeds. You know what I mean? So I definitely think Fox and Sabonis should be locks for all NBA teams. Now, where they end up, I'm not really sure. I got to really look into like all the candidates and stuff like that. But yeah, we know Steph should be there. If not first team, definitely second team. I think he should be first team though.
I saw a ballot from Shane Young today that had for his first team Donovan Mitchell and
Donovan definitely need to be on there.
And Shea for his first team, and then Steph's second team. And I don't know that I'm comfortable giving Shea. I know that he's had a great season, but I'm not giving him first team either.
Shea, I think that's fair, man. Shea's been ridiculous. Shea has been ridiculous.
Bro, they're like a 10th seed, man. Like, I'm sorry.
He's been there all year.
I think he's giving Shea the nod because of games played.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He played 68, Steph played 56, but it's like that's not big enough gap for me, in my opinion. Like 6 seed versus 10 seed. Steph's obviously one of the best players in the league, like top, whatever. We think he's top 1 over here, but Shea ain't at that level.
Absolutely he is, but we're not having that conversation today. I
love Steph. 30 is probably the only person. Well, I like Jordan Poole too because he went to Michigan, but 30 might be the only person I like on the Warriors. But,
whoa, hold on! You just like Warriors players?
That's crazy.
I mean,
Looney?
I like Looney.
When the Kings wasn't doing nothing, you wasn't even giving them a little love?
Hell no. See, the East Coasters, that's not what's going on out here. That's why this is so crazy. Like I
know there's NorCal, Southern California beef, but like between NorCal, y'all got beef too?
We cool everywhere else, right? Like football, Niners, Niners and Raiders when the Raiders are here. Baseball, Giants, A's, but basketball, no. We love the Kings, and that's all we love out here. And then there's this whole other little dynamic of, all these Bay Area people coming out here and, and trying to infiltrate Sacramento and moving out here because it's too expensive to live in the Bay Area. No, have your top ramen and stay living in the Bay Area, and we'll stay out here in our nicely priced home. Don't be trying to come out here because it's a little cheaper. So it's a whole little dynamic going on. And this series is opened it all up.
Look, let's talk about that because one of the things Justin and I keep saying is that this is going to be a quasi home series for the Warriors. What percentage of that arena do you think is going to be filled with Warriors fans?
10 max.
10
max. This is
pretty low to me.
So this is what I would say about that. Because there are Warrior fans out here. There's people that, like I just said, moved from the Bay Area, coming into Sacramento, and the Kings haven't been good in 15, 16 years. So there's a whole generation that they've lost as far as like kids and people who were like 10 years old last time the Kings were good. Now they're 25 and they're grown. They might have went with the Warriors. So there's an element of that. I don't dispute that at all. But this means too much to this city. This particular first 2 games coming up, and you see it in the ticket prices. Some of that is because it's the Warriors, but some of it is because it is the first playoff game in 16 years. And here's what I said, not that the Warrior fans don't travel or wouldn't travel, but when you talk about, like, I was talking to my boss today at the radio station, and he's selling tickets, and he's like lower level, halfway up through the lower level or whatever. He's talking about it's about be $2,800 for 2 tickets. So if you're a Warriors fan, like, yeah, you love the Warriors, but part of the reason why you would come to Golden One Center a lot of the times is because it was generally cheaper to go to Golden One than it was to Chase. Well, for this series, it's double the prices that it is to go to a playoff game in Chase. So at this point, if you're trying to go to a playoff game, just go to Chase. Like that's what's I know the Bay Area got a ton of money. They got money, more money than anybody that you could think of. But $2,800 for one game for 2 seats. Come on, man. Like when you can have the same seats in Chase Center for half that, just get the ones at Chase Center. because it doesn't mean that much. The Warriors, it's a first round series against a team that they think is sorry. They think they're going to handle easily. They think they're going to mop the floor. I know Nat thinks that it's easy work. All right. So what?
I don't think that.
What you going to sell 3 racks for a sorry first round series? They ain't going to do that.
Let's put a friendly.
But how many Warriors fans? I'm gonna say, how many Warriors fans do you think are just already there, not traveling though?
Yeah.
No, they're here.
That's your 10%.
No, they're here for
way underestimating.
That might be the 10%. Like that might be the 10%. And then you'll have some that travel. But the whole point is like Kings fans for the most part, there's some that are like, look, this is a lick. Like I can get 3 racks off of these playoff tickets. I'll just go to game 2, or I'll go to game 1 and sell my game 2. Like that might happen, but the whole basis of it is it means more to Kings fans than it does the Warrior fans, right? Like if all things considered, if you went to a Warriors fan and was like, even the ones that live in Sacramento, and you were like, hey, for $1,500, you can go to game 3 or 4, or for $3,000, you can go to game 1 or 2. They're like, all right, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just go to Chase Center. And I think that's what's going to happen a lot in this series, particularly.
You make valid points.
I try.
I definitely didn't consider, but I still want to put a wager on it. Like, I don't know, some gummy bears or something. I don't gamble for money. Justin knows this. He always gets on me, but I don't know. We have to figure out like some good, like something, because I think it's at a minimum 30%.
30%.
Yes.
30%.
I said 40%, but you have talked me into believing maybe it's going to be a little less, but I think 10% is hella low.
And it's not, once again,
hella. Did you peep that?
I hear you saying hella. See,
no, because I normally would say mad, and Marcus Thompson be getting on me, hating on me. Like, if you gonna cover this team, you gotta say hella. So
yeah, you gotta get that hella in. You know what? I got love in the East Coast, man. So I probably would have said mad myself. I'm not your typical West Coast guy, but I probably would have said mad myself. But yeah, 10 is about right. It just means more to the Kings fans than it does the Warriors fans. That's my argument for that.
He sold you, Justin.
This girl got me sweating like Patrick Ewing up in here, man. Goodness gracious.
We're not hearing you. Are you on mute?
No, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I was on mute. My bad.
Did he sell you?
I mean, a little bit. We just got to see, because you did make a good point, but you just never know until you actually see it. So,
they're gonna be in there.
Yeah.
They're gonna be in there, Justin. I'm not gonna act like
either way.
They're gonna be in there.
Yeah, I think either way, like I think from a travel standpoint for the players, that's what makes it more of like a quasi home thing, because they don't gotta fly, or they don't got, you know what I mean? If the arena is packed with Kings fans 90%, I think the Warriors would still be comfortable, because they've been in a bunch of series where they have no fans in the stands, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think they'll be fine.
I'll say this to you guys, and this boy, I tell you, man, it's crazy, man. These Warrior fans, these Warrior videos, it's crazy. I tell you, man. Look, but they talk about, man, travel for the Warriors, it's gonna be great. They just gotta take the bus, and they're gonna be good. They're just coming up the road, it's all good. They saying that like the Kings are taking a flight from Sacramento to Egypt, and then they'll go to San Francisco. Somehow the Kings don't have the same travel schedule. Somehow it ain't good for the Kings.
No, I agree that it is. I've actually said that. I said, we've been talking about, I tweeted something like this, that we've been talking about like that this was beneficial for the Warriors, but we didn't contemplate that like maybe also the Kings want that, because a lot of people thought the Kings would just not want to see the Warriors. They thought the Clippers would be their preferred team. And so I was like, when they sat out their guys for that final game, I'm like, y'all, maybe the Clippers is like, yo, we don't want to travel either like that, and maybe that's more beneficial for them. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not close enough to the team to know. But do you think that they had a preference on who they played?
I think anybody has a preference. Like if you ask them, like, all right, you've given me the choice. Like I'll tell you out of that group who I'd rather play. So I'm sure they had a preference, but I don't think they're really tripping off of it. I mean, this team, They're pretty focused. They're pretty like realistic with how the playoffs work. Like, you're gonna have to play good teams anyway. So doesn't matter who you're playing in the first round, second round. Like, they're all good. It's the playoffs. So and the other thing with the Kings is I think everybody that they went up against or potentially could have went up against, they all pose their own pros and cons, right? Like if you played the Clippers, and I'm speaking more so with Paul George around or whatever, but if you played the Clippers, you got to deal with those guys. You got to deal with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. There's a deep roster or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, there's an advantage of, you've played them. You've beat them 3 times already. You've taken their best punch. You know what they there's pros and cons everywhere. There's pros and cons with the Warriors. The Warriors, you got to deal with Steph Curry. You got to deal with Klay Thompson. You got to deal with Jordan Poole. But at the same time, one of the things that gives the Kings problems traditionally this year has been size and length. So going up against a Minnesota or the Lakers or the Pelicans, that's something that you might not would have wanted to do. You go up against the Warriors, even though you have to go up against Steph and Klay, they're not really, the biggest team inside. They don't have rim protection, and that plays a little bit more into the way the Kings like to do. They're not going to slow the ball down as much. They're going to get up and down and play your style of basketball. So that's the pro to it. So I think when you looked at the whole thing and you looked at everything that was going down, maybe you wanted to play the Clippers because Paul George is probably not going to come back this year. But other than that, everybody presented their own pros and cons. I don't think that was really tripping.
Cool. Okay, so taking it back to Twitter and some of the talking points and the takes that got Warriors Twitter. Warriors Twitter don't miss anything at all, right? So there was somebody who pretty much put out there that like the Warriors don't have anything for Sabonis, right? Sabonis is going to kill.
Oh yeah, that was the other big comment.
You don't have
he's going to kill. He's going to kill Looney. All this type of stuff. So,
I like Looney. But y'all ain't got nothing for Sabonis.
Okay. So traditionally, more like tall, like kind of, bruiser bigs who are like more lumbering. Sabonis is obviously super skilled offensively, but on a defensive end, he's not known, at least, for having quick enough feet to stay on the perimeter with guards and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the Warriors have typically played those type of centers off the court or tremendously reduced their value over the course of a series because of their defensive limitations. What do you think of that dynamic with Sabonis and how he potentially might have to guard a lot of actions involving Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, and stuff like that?
I mean, it's not ideal. He'll guard him the best he can. But he definitely ain't gonna get Rudy Gobert or the plate off the court. Like he's the one. He gonna be out there. He's actually a little better guarding on ball than probably given credit for. I don't think he's like some type of unicorn or nothing like that. Like he struggles just like any other big against Steph or Jordan Poole or whatever. But he holds his own a little bit. But what he does on the boards and what he's able to do offensively, what he means to them, I mean, they'll take that trade-off. If you get Sabonis on the switch a couple of times and you got to deal with that, they'll take that trade-off as opposed to, what he's able to do on the offensive end and what he means on the offensive end. And I like Loon. I like Loon. I ain't got nothing bad to say about Loon. Nothing bad to say about him. He ain't Domantas Sabonis. And here in the matchup problem for Domantas Sabonis typically is like a Steven Adams, like a big bruising dude. And the Warriors just don't have that. Like
Second wager,
Gobert, like that may give them problems. Them dudes don't give them problems.
Second wager. You're turning me into a gambling addict, and I've never gambled before.
We turning into MGM Grand on here. I don't know where we all these wagers.
Second wager. Loon is going to out-rebound Sabonis during this series.
That's a tough one right there, Nat. I'm not going.
I don't care.
Sabonis in 3 games this year after 17 rebounds.
Okay. I don't mind if I lose, but that's it. I'm trusting Loon for the series. He's going to out-rebound him. Okay.
He's the league's leading rebounder. Sabonis.
I don't care. Kevin Looney is going to be the leading rebounder for the series.
Okay.
That's okay.
I'm not going to take that bet.
I don't care if I lose. This is what y'all got to understand. I
tell you,
don't care.
Only because I think Sabonis is going to play a lot more minutes than Loon is. So that's why I'm not going to take that shot.
Okay.
Well, we take it. We got that locked in.
We can do it on a per 30, right? Can't we do it based off like the mint? Like
no, we ain't doing no damn per 30. Man, we doing the total, the point, the rebound per game.
If they have a substantial difference in minutes, then it can't work.
That's because Sabonis would have played his ass off the court. That's why they'd have a substantial difference in minutes.
Not playing nobody off the court. But here's the thing. All jokes aside, like the whole Sabonis.
We podding out here on Golden Spaces. We podding.
Yeah, the whole Sabonis Loon thing is like, I don't understand why everyone takes it to extremes. Like, I haven't seen any Warriors fans saying he's going to play Sabonis off the court. In general, I just don't like when people have like basketball discourse like that, because you don't play very good to great players off the court. That doesn't happen for any player, right? It's just about making it tougher on them, harder, things like that. And so, like, do we think that like Loon can hold his own against Sabonis? Yes. That doesn't mean he's locking him down. That doesn't mean Sabonis is not still going to score. Like, he's a very, very good player, right? So, I mean, some people had him like 5th in the MVP conversation, even if it wasn't real. Some people had him there. So he had an amazing season. He's an amazing player. So no, we're not saying that's what Loon is going to do, but like many Warriors fans used to do, I think y'all are severely underrating the power of Loon God. That's all I'm gonna say.
Loon God.
I do say he is good. He's good. I will say majority of the series, I think Draymond will get that Sabonis assignment.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Yeah.
Oh Lord, barbecue.
All I'm gonna say,
get that boy in there. Get that little dude in there. Get your on the post. Get on the post. Get him. Hey, I said Sabonis gonna average 17 rebounds. He might average 17 offensive rebounds if Draymond the only one.
No, don't let your Golden State bias cloud your judgment, Kenny.
Now we talking crazy. Hey, we saw Draymond in key moments severely limit 2-time MVP Nikola Jokic, who's kind of like, Sabonis a little bit on steroids. Not the rebounding menace that Sabonis is, but I think they got a history of, it's nothing they haven't seen. So that's, Sabonis isn't the type of player that they haven't seen before. So I don't know if it's gonna be barbecue chicken out there. He might have a good series, but I don't know if it's barbecue chicken though.
Draymond Green, really good defender.
Really good.
Yeah, I don't think he's what he used to be. I don't think he's what you guys make him out to be anymore. Draymond is like I think you guys be getting fooled a lot because he's really loud. Never mistake activity for So I'll give you guys an example. The Pelicans game a couple weeks ago. Everybody's like, Draymond, oh man, he got everybody turned up. And he turned the game around when he started barking. Yeah, well, after he got the technical, Pelicans went on an 8-0 run. Who got turned that game around was Kevon Looney and what he was able to do on the offensive boards and getting second chance opportunities. Steph started cooking, and by the time that started happening, Draymond came in and he got a bucket and started barking at the bench. And then Chris Haynes going to talk to him. Draymond didn't do nothing. That was Kevon Looney and that was Steph Curry. What are you talking about? And Jordan Poole.
So you know this
because Draymond is loud, we're like, oh, Draymond, look at the bark. Look at the bark from Draymond.
Not me. Justin won't say it like as out as me, but like a lot of the Draymond propaganda, I don't even fool with. I'm like, please, like all of this bullshit y'all say he does and he is not. I'm just totally talking about his defense and what he actually does do on the court. Like all the extra shit that the media makes up in those narratives. Like in that game too, when they kept attributing him to like the reason things changed, I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
In the finals? He's in the finals?
No, what the game he's talking about with the Pelicans, that was like,
yeah.
Like, that was the media narrative, and they love to spin that. Oh, when he did, I just let people, but I didn't believe that either. So you're that I'm with you on.
But look, I didn't mean to say disparage in a disparaging way. I think he's still a really good defender. I don't think he's the defender he used to be, but I still think he's a good defender. I don't mean that because people, if you ever follow me on Twitter, like every spring I get into it with Warrior fans about Draymond, every single spring. So they think I'm a Draymond hater. He's a little overrated. So here's the deal. I think much like we just talked about, the perception of Draymond bothers me more than what he actually brings to the table. I think what he brings to the table is valuable. He's a valuable piece. He's a hell of a glue guy, and he's part of that core. But I just think people be going over the top when they talk about how valuable. Like, let me ask you guys a question. The Warriors, do the Warriors win? How many championships they win without Draymond Green?
Who's in his place?
Let's just say Al Horford. Justin says 0. So you mean to tell me with
0?
That's what Justin said. So with Al Horford, Clay, KD, and Steph, they ain't winning no championship?
But the way I say 0 is because I don't think they win in 2015 without Draymond.
Maybe.
If you put Al Horford in there instead of Draymond in 2015, I don't think they win. And I don't think they win 73 games the next season and go to the finals and lose. And I don't think they get KD without Draymond being there because Draymond contributed.
That's the minutia, Justin. I'm just saying KD.
Well, yeah, with KD, they could have won with me at power forward.
Well, there we go. So there's that. And then last year he got his ass played off the court. They start once again. They took off in Game 4 when they put Big Loon in there.
Right, but that was in the finals, and that was one game. Like, relax.
Well, he wasn't doing that. They won Game 1 in Memphis without Draymond.
So they did do that. Memphis series was not his best series at the playoffs for sure.
So
I will give you this, Kenny, that I do think it is, and I think it's agenda driven, to be honest. I think what Draymond does for the team is overstated at times, and Justin and I have talked about this on here. So, and we've gotten killed from Warriors fans, like, "Oh, you hate on Draymond." So, like, I do think sometimes what he does for the team is overstated. But do I think Steph could win without anybody who's on the team right now. Personally, to me, it's just a matter of who you're putting in place. So to me, it's like, it's not about Draymond or Clay, as much as I love both of them. It's about Steph. Like, to me, Steph is one of those guys. So you have a LeBron, you have a Steph, you have a Giannis, you have any of those guys, they can win. But then it all depends on what the rest of the makeup of the team is. So could they have won without Draymond? Yes, but it depends on who you put in there. Based on the Al Horford, I think they could have won a championship, but maybe they wouldn't be a dynasty, right? So I think that's the difference. But it just depends on who you put in there in place of Dre.
Yeah. I think, I guess, to respond to like Draymond not being as good defensively as he used to be, I think he's lost a step athletically, right? He can't make some of the plays he used to make athletically, like that one play he made against the Trailblazers in the playoffs where he stopped a 3 and then blocked a dunk at the rim. He's not doing that no more. But I do think the IQ, the strength level, he still has a lot. He still has really quick feet. He still has really quick hands. So I think the overall impact as far as lifting the entire team defense up with him, he still has that impact. And it shows up in the numbers. I think, with him on the court, they have one of the best defenses in the league. And he's been statistically one of the best rim protectors in the league all year. So, guys are shooting like something crazy, like 12, 13% worse at the rim than they usually shoot when he's defending them at the rim. So
Since like statistics and all. Since like statistically the Kings are, have the best offensive rating. Just want to make sure statistically with Draymond.
Look. I'm ribbing you guys a little bit when I say Draymond barbecue chicken. Like Draymond cool. He's cool, but I think Sabonis. I don't think Sabonis.
Sabonis is a tough cover.
Sabonis would be because it's a bad matchup for Draymond. It's a favorable matchup for Sabonis. Like I said, the guys that Sabonis struggles with is size and length, and you just put Draymond on there. I know Draymond's tough and he's quick feet or whatever, but that's somebody that we call Sabonis the ox. He's a ox. Like he's gonna get to his spot, and if he can go over the top, with a little jump hook, he's money with that. So I'll say even this. It's asking a lot of Draymond to be like, hey, guard Sabonis. Like, I don't know if that's the fairest matchup for Draymond. That's asking a lot to hold down Sabonis. That's why it's going to be critical for the Warriors to make sure Looney and Draymond stay out of foul trouble and they can stay on the court.
And then they're going to alternate between
bring foul trouble. I was definitely going to bring up the foul trouble thing because a guy like Sabonis is going to get a bunch of offensive rebounds, and that's when you can pick up a lot of those swipe fouls, trying to smite the ball out of his hand on offensive rebound. So I think
Mhm.
that's a key thing to watch, right? Like how many fouls those two dudes try to, pick up, trying to keep them off the glass. So
Right.
that's because they don't
And,
have any
and,
depth outside of them to guard
and
Sabonis. So
Belief in Loon. Belief in
look,
Loon.
man, I like Loon, man. Loon might be in that torture chamber, man, messing with Sabonis, man. He might be in that torture.
Listen, I want to really quickly just talk a few of these matchups, but before we go to that, just did you hear the comments Dre made that are circulating on Twitter about, what they want to try to do versus the
Oh,
Kings?
yeah.
And I'm just curious about your thoughts on it. Because I mean, there are some Warriors fans that didn't even like it because they were like, oh, you're revealing stuff. I didn't necessarily think that because I felt like, and I know a lot of Kings fans took it as like him not respecting them. And there are times Dre talks too much for me, in my opinion, but like I didn't hear it as like disrespect because he's like, look, it's gonna be very hard. That's
Mhm.
a very good team. And like just saying like the hope and goal is to essentially try to capitalize off their inexperience,
Mhm.
and that they're so young. So that's what I heard. I didn't think it necessarily need to be said because I just feel like the way the national media as it is already going in on the Kings, the way everyone made it a point to say, oh, every team wants the Kings.
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
feel like everyone is giving them ammo. So I kind of wish everyone would shut the fuck up about it, to be honest. That's how I feel. But I don't think Dre was trying to disrespect them, So I'm curious your thoughts on what he said.
I tweeted out earlier something to the effect of already desperate for, desperate, trying to play the mind games, being desperate. I was just talking shit. Some people will call it trolling. I don't think I'm a troll. I just talk shit, right? So I was just talking shit. What he said is fine. It's no big deal. It's common sense. You know what I mean? Like
That's what I felt.
that's all it is. He didn't say anything egregious. Um, yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
Did it bother you when he said that, Justin?
no, like I said, it's common sense. So I mean, I don't know what people expect him to say. I mean, I guess he could have not said anything at all, but if he's going to say something, I think that's to be expected.
Let me ask both of you guys a question. Why do you think the Kings are gonna lose? Nat, you go first.
You want to go?
I mean, I just think the Warriors are a better team. So the Warriors
Yeah.
intact are a better team,
Uh-huh.
right? I was on a podcast last night and we kind of went through the matchups and I was asked, do I think that there's any chance that the Kings like starting five could outplay our starting five? And I was
Mhm.
like, no. I don't think there's a chance. But it was interesting because when we started to break down those matchups, and I was saying like who the best player in the series is, and then who the second best player in the series is, and the third. I think there's some conversation around that to be had. I think no one would dispute that it's Stephen Curry is the best player in the series. But
Absolutely.
then the second best player is that Fox? Is it Sabonis? And like, do the Kings have the second and third best player in the series, or do the Warriors? With Clay and then maybe Dre. So I think that's an interesting conversation. But after you get out of those five guys,
Yeah.
right? So the three on the Warriors and the two on the Kings, I think the Warriors talent after that is superior to the Kings talent. That in my opinion, okay, and
I think
so
so too.
the Warriors when they play together,
Uh-huh.
right, intact, they still have the best starting five in the league statistically.
Okay.
They have the best starting five in the league. They just didn't play many games together. Now you do have to factor in that Andrew Wiggins is just coming back. So that could be an advantage where like I would typically feel like I'd give the edge to Wiggins over Harrison Barnes in that matchup. But maybe with Wiggins kind of being back and not his normal conditioning and stuff, maybe that matchup looks a little bit more even. But outside of that, I think, the Warriors still have a better starting five as a whole. And then I think our bench depth is more talented. I think they're a more talented bench. So that's why I think the Warriors will win. And I always, in general, in any series, always lean to the team that has the best player in the series. And it's not like Steph is the best player by like a little bit. Like Steph's a tier 1 guy. And like if you guys had like a Kawhi or a Kevin Durant or a Jokic, just like another tier 1 type of player, then I would say, But like, I think when there's that substantial gap, I just always tend to lean to the team that has the best player in the series. So those are my reasonings.
Justin, what you think, man? I'll let you know.
Yeah, I agree with everything Nat said. I do think the Warriors have more top end talent. Like she said, after you can throw Steph as the guy, and you got Sabonis, Fox, Clay, and Dre. You can, shuffle those however you may. I think Fox is probably the best out of those 4 players at the moment. And then after that, like, depending on how quick Andrew Wiggins can ramp up, he's an all-star caliber player, whether he's a low-end all-star or a legitimate one. I think he's an all-star, and I don't think the Kings have anybody else on even near an all-star level outside of their 2 all-star players. And Dante is pretty good. Jordan Poole is pretty good. And, I mean, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, all these guys are very talented players. Kevin Huerter, very talented players as well. But I think there's a swift drop-off after the top guys on the Kings. And then just from the tangible things, right, I think the makeup of both teams, the Warriors are more equipped to be a higher level defensive team. They were statistically a better defensive team this year. So you look at both sides of the ball, 2 high power offenses. One team has a better chance of being a better defensive team in the series. And then you look at the intangible things like experience, poise, stuff like that. We don't know how the Kings are going to react. It's their first time there. We know the Warriors are going to not really make a ton of mistakes. They're not going to beat themselves. And when their backs against the wall, they usually come through, right? Steph, Clay, and Dre over years have, when it looks like they shouldn't win a series, they've won a series anyway. So I think when things get really tight late in those games, and it's a swing game that could be potentially a 1-1 game 3 or a 2-2 game 4, I lean the Warriors because they've come out on top in those situations more times than anybody other than dynastic teams in NBA history. So that's why I would go with the Warriors.
That's all fair. That's all fair. I mean, that's all. Warriors are defending champions and one of the greatest dynasties we've ever seen. So I don't have necessarily anything to dispute that. I think Wiggins is a little bit put a little bit more on Wiggins. I think Wiggins and Harrison Barnes are a little closer than people say. I think Wiggins is slightly better, but sometimes Warrior fans be talking like Wiggins is prime Scottie Pippen. He ain't that.
Wiggins is my guy.
So. That's your dude. All right,
just watch your language.
No disrespect, Nat. No disrespect. I don't want no problems.
If you ever notice, everybody but Draymond is Nat's guy. You can't say nothing about it.
I think that I couldn't say nothing about Loon. Right. I couldn't say nothing about Loon.
And feel free to talk about Anthony Lamb in a negative way, and I will always.
I'd rather not talk about Anthony Lamb at all.
We don't even say his name on this podcast, but if you did, I would not be offended.
Wild boy, right there. I want to run something by you guys real quick. I know we've been rocking. I appreciate y'all having me on here. I said something that sounds a little crazy, but I'm interested to see how it plays out. I said the Warriors in this whole run, they've never seen an offense like the Sacramento Kings, the 2022-2023 Sacramento. They've never seen it. The Warriors have seen it all. They've seen Hall of Fame. They've beaten them all too. Hall of Famers, great teams, many dynasties. You talking about tier 1. They've taken down tier 1 players. They've won on the road. They've won with little to no fans in the building. They've won in Boston. They've won in all these hostile environments. So I'm not saying that the Kings are reinventing the wheel, but one of the things I looked at.
I'm sorry, I'm just seeing the Hawks upset the Heat.
They got them boys.
Wow.
They got them boys. Somebody from Miami to get up out of here, man. Really, be honest with you. I'm tired.
We said there's always something that happens in the play-in that like people don't expect. So that's the first one.
I need that Lakers loss tonight, though. I need that for sure.
We don't like that. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kenny. Go ahead.
I was saying throughout this whole run, the Warriors have always faced a team that either Steph and or Draymond could hide on, could rest. So you talk about OKC, you got Roberson. Talk about Memphis, you got Tony Allen. Houston, you talk about PJ Tucker. Boston, you talking about Derek White and Rob Williams, and so on, right? Like there's always that one. The Kings don't have that. Like if you look at the matchups, you're like, oh well, yeah, we just gonna put Steph on Herter. Man, Herter be moving. It's not that Herter's great. I'm not saying like he's the same level, but Herter moves. That dribble handoff with him and Sabonis is nonstop all game long. Move. We're gonna put him on Fox. All right. Well, Fox moves. Fox goes. All five guys are threats to score. Sabonis runs the offense. So I'm not saying they're incapable of handling that, but that is something that this current Warriors run, they haven't experienced that. And we'll see how they adjust, not just necessarily in winning game one, but how them legs hold up. Because the Kings run and they make you run, and the Warriors have played a lot of basketball over the last 18 months. And they're not spry chickens. So I'm just saying that's another element. I want to see how that happens. They haven't played an offense like this before.
What about when they played the Rockets? They were a pretty potent offense.
They were, but it was different. It was one-on-one ISO. So when it's one-on-one ISO, the other guys on the wing, they can just kind of chill, or they can overhelp, or they didn't have any responsibilities. PJ Tucker was sitting in that corner. Eric Gordon was sitting on that wing the whole time. There was no constant movement, and it was James Harden just going one-on-one. And you're not going to beat Clay, KD, even Looney the way he played in that series going one-on-one. They had offensive potency, but it was a different type of offense. There wasn't as much movement and back cuts and off the ball movement as what they're going to see with Sacramento.
Okay.
That's fair.
It's just going to be different.
Let's
see
fair.
how they
I mean, the thing is,
they
haven't seen a team. I don't think they've seen a team like this where like there's just so much offense throughout the roster. But I definitely think they've been in situations where teams put their best offensive lineups on the court, and there have been guys out there, like 5 guys that can hurt you out there. You know what I mean?
I don't know who Justin. What team? Because OKC, because they always got to have somebody to guard Steph, and that's usually some random Anthony Roberson who can't score, but he's out there to guard Steph. So they never fully commit to offense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we saw they played the Mavericks last year, and like the Mavericks spread you out pretty far, and they got a bunch of guys who can hit threes, and they got a high-powered offense. And even last year, at some points in Boston, like you can question like Derek White's ability to shoot threes, but they would put lineups out there where Al Horford's at the 5, Tatum's at the 4, and they got 3 other, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Derek White. So all of those dudes can hit threes. Granted, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and Kevin Huerter are better shooters than those guys, but I don't think this would be the first time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Out of those 5, I think Harrison would be the guy where it's like, we can kind of leave him. The Warriors definitely seen Harrison Barnes miss some threes before. So,
yes, please, no nightmares from 2016. I mean, look, we acknowledge the Kings' offense on here because, like, when throughout the season, when we were saying, would it be better to play the Kings first or the Grizzlies when like the standings were still sort of shuffling? Justin was more in favor of the Grizzlies. And I mean, part of it was like, especially with, if I'm remembering correctly, with Wiggs coming back and we didn't know what he would be like. Like, did you want to have him having to deal with like all of that and guarding, some of their guys like coming back? Is that something you're still concerned about? Or no, because we do have GP2 now, which I think when we had some of those discussions before he wasn't here, and you have the GP2 Dante combo.
You talking about me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the Grizzlies, I still think they're just like a low IQ team. They got a lot going on off the court. So I think that series, if they end up seeing the Grizzlies again at some point, they should be able to get them out of there. And they got the motivation to get them out of there. As far as them versus the Kings, it's still the same issues because John Fox are both, extremely quick guards. They put a lot of pressure on you at the rim. Fox is definitely a better like shooter, pull-up shooter, stuff like that. So it might be a GP2 series, right? I wouldn't be surprised if midway or towards the end of the series they drop Loon to the bench and start GP2 to guard Fox and just put Draymond straight on Sabonis from the jump and try to run and just try to run Sabonis in particular, like run him. So I don't know, but this is definitely
Sabonis do the running. Sabonis get the run and go. He do the running.
I don't know if he can run with Draymond though. I don't know if he can run.
No, he do the running.
Well, that was going to be my question though about like matchups. Like, are there any? Obviously, we know from game to game, right? They game plan, and Mike Brown knows this team. He knows this team. We know that, but that was going to be my question. Like, what do you guys think are some of the maybe underrated matchups or matchups that might come up that we're not thinking of? And I also want to know too. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to do two questions at once, but how are you guys going to handle when they start to put Sabonis in pick and roll? Like, what are you guys going to do there with that? So those are my two questions.
I'll answer your second question first. I assume, they put him in the pick and roll. You got him one-on-one against Steph. I mean, like everybody's done for the past however many years. And Steph is Steph. Like that's one of the reasons, if not the reasons, why it's so hard to play the Warriors, because they put you in those type of situations. So they're going to be able to do that. Mike Brown, I'm interested to see exactly how he's going to play that, whether that's a trap, whether that's a hedge and recover. That's why he's labeled a defensive guru. And, we'll see what he has cooked up for that. But I mean, Sabonis, he'll be fine. Like I don't that's something that Steph is going to get some love off and he's going to be able to do his thing, everything. But I don't look at that as like, damn, I just don't know. Like we're cooked because we can't handle that. Like, it'll be whatever. We'll just hit the ball and do what we do on the offensive end. So there's that. And the first question was
matchups. Justin brought up possibly GP2 starting. So what are your thoughts on that? And then any other matchups we might not be thinking of?
Well, if you start GP2 and you put Draymond on Sabonis, I mean, that's advantage Kings. And I don't even mean that as we talked about it. I don't mean that to disparage Draymond, but that's a tough matchup for Draymond. I'll take that matchup with Sabonis and doing what he does as far as being on the boards, the way he does with the high pick and roll, the dribble handoff. He might also get Draymond in foul trouble. The other thing about this is when you talk about DiVincenzo and GP2 being out there, all right, well, somebody's going to be off the court. Like, what, Clay going to be off the court? Like, they can't all play. So who going to be off the court?
GP plays up a little bit. They use him as a 3 and a 4 sometimes, depending on the other team's matchup, who's on the court, stuff like that. So,
okay. Well, if he's out, then Wiggins is out, right? Like Clay and Wiggins and GP2 and DiVincenzo ain't all gonna be out there. Right. Somebody gonna be off, and Jordan Poole, like somebody, if not two of them.
Jordan Poole wouldn't be out there, but
see, Jordan Poole, I think.
But I think that's also that could be advantage Warriors. That could be advantage Warriors because they got 6 legit perimeter players that are like really high level guys. So, see this. Oh, here we go with the Warrior fans again. GP2 man, they cool, man. Y'all be hyping them up a little too much.
Okay,
they cool. Like they good ball players.
There's not even a lot of matches on them because he just came back. So I'm just saying, don't sleep on that.
They're good ball players. Like they're cool. They're cool. But y'all be making it like GP1 is coming out there. Like, no, it's GP2. GP2. He cool. I like
it. I know Dante couldn't make no layups for y'all. He can't make layups for us either. But he do a lot of good things out there.
Dante was a king.
Dante was cool as a king. We wanted him back. We wanted him back before everything went down. Like we like Dante. He a cool little ball player, but I mean, like we
Who
got
better, Dante or Terrence Davis? Who better, Dante or Terrence Davis?
Terrence Davis. We got better. I mean, the
Warriors are the best fit for Dante, though. Of all the teams he's been on, he's the best fit on the Warriors. So he can do things on this team that he didn't do when he was with you guys or even the Bucks.
I like Dante. I ain't got nothing bad to say about Dante. I like him.
Okay, so it sounds like Sabonis, in your opinion, no matter what, is a matchup advantage to Sabonis. What are the other matchups that you think are advantage Kings?
Well, Fox is gonna eat. I don't care who's guarding him, especially when you get into that fourth quarter situation. Ain't nobody been able to stop him all year. He's been the focus of every team's perimeter defense at the end of games. Like, okay, let's put our best defender on Fox. He scored the most clutch points in the NBA. Like he's at that level now where he's going to get his. I think Malik Monk off the bench can be a problem potentially. Malik Monk, I think people kind of sleeping on Malik, man. I could see Malik going off. And like I said, Jordan Poole, I like Jordan Poole, but if it's like Jordan Poole versus Malik and Jordan got to guard Malik, it's barbecue chicken. I like Jordan.
Yeah, he's not going to be
I don't think they would play Jordan. I don't think they would play Jordan
gonna be
for that reason. I don't think they would do that.
Okay.
I would see them putting Gary on him. If Gary don't start, Gary.
Then who gonna guard Fox?
Wiggins. Like you said, Fox is going to eat. Fox is going to eat. It's more so about like making sure he don't feast and get 35, 40. Mm-hmm. And I think the Warriors would be okay because as long as he don't go off, Steph should be able to either supersede that or cancel that out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it's more so like make sure Kevin Huerter don't give you 6-7 threes. Make sure Malik Monk don't give you 5-6 threes off the bench. So I think that's kind of the idea.
I feel like we got different guys we can put on Fox. Like it's not going to be a one-man job.
We're gonna put on Fox. You got Wiggins, who look, thank God he's back or whatever. Wiggins ain't played in 3 months. You're gonna throw him in this? Like, all right. I think they already talking about minutes restriction for him. They actually haven't even said he's gonna play game 1. Like that hasn't been said yet. So,
okay, but he's gonna play, and
he can come out there and he ain't done nothing in 3 months, and you go guard De'Aaron Fox.
We get it. That's a legit concern, but I mean, like I said, we have other guys that they can put on him too.
Yeah.
You can put GP2 on him. You absolutely can.
Fox will eat, but GP2 will make him work, right? That's all it ever is, right? Even with Curry, like there's guys that say, "All right, Davion will guard Curry." Is he going to stop Curry? Absolutely not.
Right.
But you want to make him work. You want to make him the shots difficult, and tire out his legs, or hopefully that shows up in the fourth quarter. Just make it difficult on him. So that's something GP2 can do. I think DiVincenzo can do that as well. But at the end of the day, see, and that's where I talk about the offensive pressure. There's no hiding. There's no hiding. The 10 guys they play, you can't hide. Like everybody you got to respect. You can't help off of. You got to. It's the offensive pressure that kind of reminds me of what the Warriors do and used to do. Back when they were at Oracle, there was nobody you can hide off of. Like that mentally, that offensive pressure that they put on you kind of will wear teams down. Will the Kings be able to do that? I don't know, but they got a little bit of that in them, possibly.
And I think the key for the Warriors trying to stop that offense is to make sure that other guys don't eat, right? Like you said, no hiding. So I think they're going to be, okay, we can't let Keegan Murray get his 15, 16 points a game. We can't let Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, like, all right, Sabonis, if you're going to kill Draymond for 6-7 games straight and get your 25 to 30 and 20 rebounds and stuff like that, and De'Aaron Fox, you're going to give us 40 every game, and we lose that way, I think that's they adjust based on that. But I'm assuming going into the series, they're like, okay, we're going to put our best guys on Fox and Sabonis, Wiggins and Draymond, Gary Payton, Looney, take their turns on those two guys, and we can see if we can slow them down a little bit one-on-one or just slightly a little bit of help. But everybody else, we can't let y'all go off. I think that's kind of what their game plan would be, but I could be wrong.
I think we got something for y'all, man. Nat, I think we got something for y'all, man.
Okay.
I think we got something for y'all. I ain't saying y'all sleeping, but y'all low key sleeping, man. I think we got a little bit more than y'all realize. I think we got a little bit more than y'all realize.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Okay.
we're gonna come up with the terms and let everybody know the next time we get together what our wagers terms are. But this has been fun. Kenny, really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Nah, I enjoyed it too, man. Nat be going in. I was like, damn, she gonna go in on me, and then I'm gonna have to go in. And it's gonna get crazy.
Wait, I
But
never
it
went
did.
in
We
on you
good.
though.
Oh no,
You've been looking at like
we good. It's love. It's love. And Justin, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to like Justin, yo, let's get your girl, man. What's going on? But no, it's all good. It was all good, man. It was all love.
well, thank you for staying
Yes,
a little
sir.
extra long with us and also having your little one with us. We appreciate her joining us. I'm gonna convert her into
Nah, that ain't happening. Like I said, you can have my son, man. He's already gone, man. I can't do nothing about it. He got Curry jerseys and all this other stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm not even
yes.
into you like that right now. I got my little girl. She with me.
All right, Kenny. Well, for real, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for joining us. We appreciate it. Looking forward to this matchup
Sure.
and talking to you more. Really enjoyed it.
Y'all be good. Thank you for having me on, man.
All right, take care.
Yes, sir. All right.
Later.
Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to Kenny, man.
Oh man, that was great.
Fun. Yeah, that was fun right there.
Well, Dub Nation, we hope that you appreciated that playoff preview. I think it was pretty thorough, detailed. We talked about a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
an hour, some things.
Yeah, that was longer than we expected to go. So, but as always, appreciate y'all tuning in. You know the drill. Make sure you download, subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Golden Spaces Pod. Leave a review, leave a 5-star rating. Yeah, do all those things and tell people, spread the word. We appreciate you. So with that, I just want to say, go Dubs. We're looking forward to this playoff run, and we're going to have a mailbag coming for you later this week. You're just going to be hearing from us a lot more throughout the playoffs. So, but thank you for tuning into this episode. Appreciate y'all. And until next time, again, go Dubs.